I'm going to likely do more videos on this subject, and because I want to make sure everybody understands it. And again, I want to thank those who have helped fund the process of getting these things copyrighted. I know many people don't see it as something that's paramount, but I can assure you these false prophets that are running around would definitely take and try to weaponize anything that I teach or anything that I prophesied, and I believe I've more than proven that. So, and this is relevant to that scenario because you see all these ones that'll go back, ones such as Tom Horn, Perry Stone. They talk about this star that falls from heaven that is named Wormwood, and they always falsely and misinterpret what the Bible is actually trying to reveal. And this is going to be very incredible because it shows you many things that were always there to be seen, and yet none of these ones ever saw it. So what we read about in Revelation 8, verse 1, we read that, "And a second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire and cast into the sea, the third part of the sea became blood." Now, many people think this occurs after wormwood impacts the earth. But what if I reveal to you that this has already occurred? And I point out to you again, Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9, "No new thing under the sun. What has been will be again." And my book titled Wormwood actually elaborates this. For those of you who have read it, it elaborates on this a little bit better, I think. So let's dissect that verse. Let's stop and dissect that verse. So we're learning about a great mountain burning with fire. That's very incredible. A great mountain burning with fire. And understand that it was cast. Notice that very specific word, cast, into the sea, that made the third part of the sea become blood. Very incredible. And understand all the wording that is used there. It's very specific for a reason. A great mountain burning with fire. Very important. So to understand this better, this is the definition that all these false prophets go to when they speak of cast. How something is cast. An act of throwing something forcefully. That is the definition that these false prophets go to. But what I reveal to you today is the actual definition that God wanted it to mean. This is why he used that word cast, because he knew the false prophets would be using this definition, and I'm going to reveal to you this definition. The definition of cast is an object made by shaping molten metal or something material. Let's use this as clay in a mold. And to understand that better, you have to understand the parable of the potter, and to remember that God is the potter, and he is also a consuming fire. Notice that. God is the potter, and he is fire, a consuming fire that casts and molds us, the vessels. Very incredible to understand that. So what I say to you is this has already occurred. We're not waiting for this to occur. It has already occurred. So now, and I want to point this out, what Isaiah 46 verse 9 and 10 states, that God makes known the end from the beginning. So when you go to Genesis chapter 1, the very first chapter in the very beginning, let's look at that closely and dissect that. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Very incredible, very specific wording in that verse. Remember, God is the Word, John 1 verse 1. Very, very specific wording. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. So if God moved on the waters and created light, what did he create? Let's find out. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. Ye are the light. He created the light when he moved upon the waters. When his Spirit moved upon the waters, he created light. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Understand, we go back to that mountain of fire. The mountain of fire. We go back to, ye are set on a hill and cannot be hid. The great mountain burning with fire was cast into the waters, into the sea. And if you know anything about the sea and moving upon the waters, you'll also know that the sea is salty. So if you were molded out of the sea and the earth, you understand how you're salt. You are also the salt of the earth, and you are also the light, because the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. Now you understand better why when you sweat and some just happens to drip into your mouth, now you understand why your sweat, the waters that come out of you, taste salty, because ye are the salt and ye are the light, because the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And ye are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. Very important. Now you're beginning to understand all of these things better, seeing them in the manner in which I see them. So then I refer you back, as I've pointed out many times, to Revelation chapter 17, verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So that can be further verified, that was shown to John by Jesus. You are the waters. Understand that. The peoples, nations, multitudes, and tongues. Even the words that are coming out of your mouth are waters and have a rippling effect. Know that. And Jesus himself again pointed out, it is not what a man puts into his mouth that defiles him. It is what comes out of a man's mouth that defiles him. So take notice to what's coming out of your mouth, because it is the waters. Just like Jesus was the living waters. So now we go back to what I had previously pointed out about the great mountain burning with fire that was cast into the waters, and how the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now we're going to find out what that great mountain was that was burning with fire. In Ezekiel 28, verses 14 and 15, thou art, and this is when Ezekiel was referring to Satan, when Satan was in the presence of the Lord. Before he fell from grace, Satan was in the presence of the Lord. So let's see where Satan was. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the fiery stones. Satan, Lucifer, was once in the presence of God on the holy mountain that was of fire, that had stones of fire. Very incredible. So let's go back to that. So if Lucifer was in the presence of the Lord, and the Lord's presence was a great mountain burning with fire, then we can go back to this. Revelation chapter 8, verse 8. And the second angel sounded, and as if it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. And then you go back to, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. It was always there to be seen, people. You realize you have to know the holy word of God inside and out, backwards, forwards, because he even alludes to this. God even alludes to this in Isaiah. When you go to Isaiah 46, 9 and 10, this is why he explains, or in the manner in which he explains, you need to know this backwards and forwards and backwards. He makes known the end from the beginning, as I'm showing right here. So let's go to Acts chapter 2, verse 17. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and young men shall see visions, and your old men shall see dreams. So if he's pouring out his Spirit upon all flesh are the waters, just as I've shown. Just as I've shown. If he's pouring out his Spirit upon the flesh, then the Spirit of God will move upon the waters once again. The Spirit of God, because he is pouring out his flesh. So we would be looking for his Spirit to be poured out upon us once again. And there's the reference to Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Isaiah 46:10, as I previously pointed out. So now we're going to see what Spirit he is going to pour out, how the Spirit is going to move on the waters once again. We go to Revelation 19, verse 10. And I fell at his feet. And this is John speaking about his encounter with Jesus. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said to me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren thy have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus Christ is the spirit of prophecy. The testimony of Jesus Christ is the spirit of testimony. So he is going to pour out his Spirit upon all flesh. in the last days. Understand that. And what God did, what Jesus has already done, if you go to John chapter 4, verses 10 through 14, and John chapter 7, verses 37 through 42, you'll read about that Spirit, the Spirit of living waters, which is the testimony of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. This is His Spirit, the living waters, the testimony of Jesus Christ, which is the New Testament. Those are the two chapters and verses you can go to understand that better. But not only that, Matthew 26, verse 28. For this is my blood, understand, of the New Testament. Jesus states, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. This is His blood. The testimony is blood, but it is also water. Blood and water. Understand that. And it is also the spirit of prophecy. This is why it will be poured out. And old men will dream dreams. And young men will have visions. See how incredible that is, people? All of these things. So understand that the waters have already become blood. They have already become blood. This has already occurred. This is why Revelation, John was shown Revelation chapter 17, verse 15. You are the waters. The peoples, nations, multitudes, and tongues are the waters. But you're also of the blood of Jesus Christ. He has already poured out His blood, which is also His living waters, which is taught in John chapter 4 and also in John chapter 7. Those are the verses, chapters and verses you can go to. It's incredible, people. There's so many things in the Lord's holy word that are just waiting to be revealed. All He's doing is waiting for you to open His word and read it. Not only can He reveal things that were always there, ancient things that are to come, He can reveal it to me, to you, to anybody that will stop and take the time to open His holy word. But the more important part that nobody can give to you, I cannot give you, there's not a prophet that exists that can give this to you, is what He can reveal to you in your daily lives, your daily walk with Jesus. This is why He told the Samaritan woman what He did. Read that, John chapter 4. Read that about the Samaritan woman. And read that in John chapter 7. How He is the living waters. And when you drink those waters, you have to open that book. You have to open His book and drink those living waters daily, so that you have your daily walk and daily communion and daily waters that only He can give you, so that you know how to navigate the other waters, the waters that are perilous. We live in very, very prophetic times, and your life is only going to go one way or the other. So I compel you, open the book, open His book, drink those waters. God bless.